dear. Well, you know what? Let's keep it moving back to Centiskorch in that opinion. Now, I'm not even gonna lie. When I first saw Centiskorch, I thought, right, I wasn't impressed. In all honesty, I was not impressed. But actually building it and playing it, I always thought it was 40 times, silly on me. Now I realize it's 40 plus, and that does change things. And yeah, that boy hits like an absolute steam train. That boy does not mess about. Now I'm a big believer. But my question to you is, Joe, is that it hits like a truck, right? But I feel as if all the VMAXs in format all do this sort of like 2 to 4 energy, 200 S prod. What makes Centiskorch like the best one? Like, you can put 4 energy on a Centiskorch, or you can put 4 energy on a Dragapult, not a Dragapult, on a Dragonite. No, what's he called? Salamance. Oh my lord, Salamance VMAX. There we got there eventually. Like, what's the advantage to putting them on a Centiskorch?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because I've been burned a couple times previously where Cinderace didn't work with Welder and Snorlax didn't work with Welder. Salamence is a new option, but Centiskorch feels super different because you don't need to Welder to still be threatening people on turn 2. So that's like my best feeling. It's that Centiskorch has that flexibility to be like, I'm at least threatening like a 2-shot, even if I have a bad turn 1 and 2, and just go attach, evolve, just like you would with, I don't know, like a Dragapult or something. And then the Welders can just go on top of that. You have potential for Heatran GX plays as well, because Centiskorch naturally is so tanky that like you can burst damage from all sorts of directions with the deck. So I am excited by Centiskorch. I think as glamorous as Eternatus is, and it probably does deserve to be seen as like probably the most powerful VMAX, I think Centiskorch is probably going to be solidly in tier 2 as probably the best Welder deck going forward, because, you know, old Welder box loses Victini Prism Star. Mewtwo's in a precarious spot where it can't steal Turbo Strike anymore from Solgaleo. The Cephalon probably is still a really good Welder deck actually as well, but Centiskorch seems like it can do a decent amount when it doesn't draw well, and then like there are those games where you've gone second, you've Volcanianed, you've Welded, you've evolved into the VMAX, and you are just bopping. So that's going to be like a real threat. So I'm a big fan of Senti. I think he's going to be solid.
Okay, let's just address some of the stuff in the chat here quickly. So we could play a Break Zard and Centiskorch for the Nitro tank. Now, in all fairness, that's actually one version I did think of, because that is just nuts, right? I think its Jex tag is for 1, and then you can attach 5 from discard. A bit like, is it Turtonator like GX from back in the day? Oh, Zaora, that's it. Oh yeah, you come in.
And Turtle, yeah.
But
both.
Do you reckon that's one way to go, or do you think as if like Heartburn? Because I think Jack said Heartburn is the way to go in that scenario. What do we feel about the Break Zard, lads?
I mean, I think I'm with Joe. Heartburn is the play. The reason being is like Break Zard is a 3-prizer that you're sticking in the active as an energy acceleration that can easily be knocked out in this format that we're moving into by like Eternatus or whatever. So you stick that in the active just to accelerate energy, and you're going to give up 3 prizes. I mean, I think you'd have to, if you're going to build a deck that did that for whatever reason, I think you would really want to like put a bunch of reset stamps in there, and like, you know, maybe that's a deck where you play reset stamps and Jesse and James, and you almost like, you know, bring their hand down to 0. I don't know. I just worry about giving up those 3 prizes.
Yeah, I think Heatran's Jet Stack is too strong as well to give up, and you already need to play Volcanians if you want to beat Decidueye anyway. So it's like you have to play those spaces. You may as well lean into the Volt because the early game excel anyways.
Okay, that's fair. And then Bob Madugo, sorry about I actually skipped over that last time, I apologise. To quickly go back to ADP, he said, what is the thoughts on a Milotic V in ADP to deal with Centiskorch? What do you feel about that?
I mean, I like it. I mean, if it's just a one-off, it depends obviously on how much Centiskorch is played, but I mean, between Centiskorch and if people, I don't think that many people will play Cinderace VMAX, or I don't really know of any other fire decks actually that would matter in, but I think Centiskorch will see a decent amount of play. So if you have the space in ADPZ to play 1 Milotic, cool.
First I've heard of it, and I'm just trying to think how realistic it is that an ADP will be alive after its GX attacked, because you need to be able to Ultimate Ray onto Milotic in the first place. And if you're using an Ultimate Ray attack, you may as well just be Ultimate Ray into a Zacian anyway. So I think it's probably not as practical as you'd think. It is just like water go, brrrr, but it's not that practical, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're playing like quad turbo patch and you want to sit behind a Zamazenta for a turn.
Yeah, maybe the patches help actually.
That's
Yeah.
a good point. But then one thing that's been smart for me as well, like I've seen ADP lists go as low as like what 2 water now. So if you've GX'd and then you froze the water, it's like, well, Milotic's now doing nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
whoops. So fair play. Fair play. What was you going to move on? Let's move on to them. Right, here's the interesting one. So I actually got into a little bit of a Twitter debate with someone about this. Pikarom. Now, Pikarom right now, obviously ruined the format, all that good stuff. Loses Thunder Mountain, loses E powers. Joe, do you feel as if Pikarom can still be a build around, or will it just almost like what it is now, but even more so, just become more of a lightning box where you've got one Pikarom, you've got a Raichu, you've got even a Vikavolt Bolt on potentially, or do you still feel as if Pikarom is the one to build around?
I'm pretty certain that Eternatus bullies Pikarom massively. I think Centiskorch can reach that damage output too easily as well. I think this is the first format where we've actually seen that 240 is just way too fragile. I don't think that Pikarom can survive when it doesn't have the same power spike potential with E-power turns that you could just, overcome a V before it evolves into a VMAX, or any of those sorts of players with the early, even just early Tag Bolt turn 1 with 1 E-power just gave you so much tempo against like Dragapults and a few other archetypes that you just sort of stole the game from them immediately, and you just don't have that power spike anymore. So I'm really fearful for Pikarom, and I've obviously played Pikarom a lot, and it's been one of my go-tos since it was released. I've really enjoyed playing Pikarom as much as I can. I feel like it's finally getting power crept, mainly because Eternatus can just like flick it away, and then Pikarom is like it's gonna take them a good 2 turns to get there, and it's like you can try and paralyze a Raichu, but that's about it. So
Yeah, I think for me, like it's like not only is it like Eternatus, but Salamance hits 240 as well. You could hit 240 turn 2 with a 1 attachment turn 1 and a triple acceleration. It's really not that hard. So maybe you find your big charm, and hooray, you live for 1 more turn. On top of that, like, Pikarom has the same weakness as Eternatus, so inevitably there will be a number of decks that are trying to counter Eternatus, and you as the Pikarom player naturally suffer because of that. You're not as strong as Eternatus, and so it's like, well, shoot.
Yeah, you get caught in the crossfire.
That is a very good point. So now we've established that Pikarom isn't the way to go. What about, I've seen a lot of people talk on Twitter again, sort of like a more of a Bolton style now, because Bolton also gets turbo patch, so that can start spiraling a bit silly. Do we give any merit to that, Joe?
I mean, when Bolton first came out, I tried Turbo Bolton, where you have the Zero Aura GX attack and like Shuckles to try and get a bunch of energies. I tried Naganadel Charge Up as like a bench guy. It seemed to ramp pretty reasonably, but obviously both of those options are rotating. I'm not quite certain if Turbo Patch is enough of like a push to keep its damage output relevant, because in both of those situations that I just mentioned, there was still E-power to push you over. So I think Bolton will be part of that sort of lightning box, but I don't think he's strong enough on his own anymore, because you just lose so much ramp with the E-powers going.
Yeah, I think the E-power, I played a bunch of Turbo Bolton in like Sunday Opens and stuff like that for the first month or so, and it's a lot of fun. The fact that you lose Shuckle and the fact that you lose Zero Aura make it really difficult. Like, I don't know how you get, a guaranteed 7 or 8 energy turn 2 on a Bolton V anymore, like up on the field. And without that, like, you're not very turbo then. So, and you don't have the E-powers to like make up that little extra damage out of nowhere. So now you're just like a 2-prizer that's taking 2-hit KOs that is easily 1-hit KO'd in return.
Yeah, poor Bolton. They never quite had his shine. I thought he would, to be fair. So, what have we got? I'll put in the chat what decks should we discuss next. And someone interesting, Bob's put in something interesting. Extra Dual Rototail. Now, do you mean like a control variant? I'm just gonna assume you are. In regards to control, now that is an archetype I've given no thought to whatsoever. I'm not really a personally control player. I've got nothing against them, just not for me. Joe, have you given a control-esque archetype much thought? Is Extra Dual Rototail the way to go, or?
Well, I've written off stall in many a format, and I've been proved wrong many times over. But I personally think that Rototillar Excadrill isn't a good enough replacement for a Rangaroo to build around the sort of infinite mill deck. I feel like we'll go back more towards wall stall style mill decks, or just aggro mill from like Toxictrity or from Palisand or those sorts of wacky ones. So because the great thing about a Rangaroo was you could just like bench, recycle energy, and loop so easily. And the Excadrill will take up way more space, is way more volatile to like whiffing them throughout the entire game, and you'll have to weave into your Rototillers like the Super Rods or the Ornery Rods way more often as well. So you're not actually like getting that fourth card that you would do with the Excadrill most of the time, because it just has to be committed to your next rod. So it's like just like a way more clunky Oranguru that eats into your space. And Control really needs a lot of space. Like, it's made some gross cuts in its time just to be able to fit everything. So I personally don't think Excadrill is going to be like the savior to mill. I think it's a pretty far stretch. I would first see mill adapt in those other avenues that I mentioned. I think that's more likely.
Okay, that seems fair.
I mean,
Sean?
The only cards that I've been playing with, and I can't make a good deck, so it might be my lack of imagination doing it, but there's a new Obstagoon coming out that has the ability, once during your turn, you can make your opponent discard their hand until they have 4 cards in hand. So I was trying to like figure out, can I build this with Malamar VMAX and Jesse and James? So it's not really a board control necessarily, but it is a hand control. So the problem is that you need Obstagoons, you probably need rare candies, you need Malamar VMAX, it's a mess in terms of like getting all of these things in place, that it's like, sure, if you can pull off the perfect combo with by turn 2 or 3, you drew everything in the universe. But most of the time your opponent's going to get set up, and then you just sat there with like, not that great of a board.
That's fair. Like I said, I don't know. Like I said, similar to you, I don't know if it's a lack of creativity, but I'd love Malamar to be good number 1. That's one of my favorite VMAX cards. But that's how I've played that online. Like, oh, I've got this set up. Here we go. Right, let's do the max jam. And I got 2 research. Like, oh wait, like, what do you mean you've got 2? Like, but that Obstagoon is good. That I reckon, let's transition to Obstagoon then, or sort of Dark-esque type thing. Now, obviously, you got Tomb Count now. One of the best deck. Well, a very good deck. Did really well in Limitless and all that good stuff. Do we feel as if a sort of Obstagoon focus deck still has merit? I mean, obviously, there's loads of more VMAXs out now, but you've got Turbo Patch Sableye, which, spoiler, is the next deck on the channel, though, maybe. So you might have options to sort of remove these VMAXs out of the way. Can an Obstagoon deck still compete, Joe? Or
I'd be really surprised if a obstruct Sableye deck was a thing, because I just think the word obstruct is way less impactful now, because so many decks are like, okay, you've just dealt 90 to me and I'm unaffected by anything else, so I'll just keep churning through. So I'd be really hesitant to say that Obstagoon's going to be that strong. I think if we are going to see Obstagoon, it's probably like as bench damage for like Eternatus maybe, or something like that. I can't see it being hugely impactful in my own experience. Like, Turbo Patch Sableye sounds like so much work, and it's RNG on coin flips, but you've already had to bench the Sableye, and if you flip Tails, then it's just like there for people to eat up, so it feels pretty gross to me.
Well, like you then, Sean, you said that you like the new ability one. You giving it one much thought?
The ability is pretty cool, but I don't think I'd even play it in Obstagoon, because you want to have maximum copies of that card, because your support account is pretty janky anyway, and you just, like, if Obstruct is your win condition, you just can't miss that card. So
that's fair.
Also, the deck loses Cynthia, so you're probably playing high Marnie count anyway, which is like almost the same as the other Obstagoon's ability.
That's true. That's fair. Sean?
I mean, I don't think Obstagoon. The only thing that could have saved it was there's the rare or the new fossil Pokemon. I don't know if it's Dracofish.
Oh, it is Dracofish. It stops
Stops evolving.
Yeah, but it only stops evolving when that Pokemon is the active, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like, the fact that they made that now maybe that's the way that they balanced the ability, but if that ability wasn't only when it's the active, then I could have seen Galarian Obstagoon maybe being really powerful in the format, but otherwise, no.
Okay, well, sorry about that, Obstagoon, mate. I got those promo ones in, and I haven't even used them yet. You know what I mean? I remember getting myself to W.H. Smith hustling that person behind the tail. I was like, it was 1 per £10. I was like, oh, come on, get us 2. Come on, what 2's gonna know?
They could end up being a Eternatus mirror tech, because that could be a way that you one-shot their VMAX by actually playing Candy Obstagoon alongside your 4 zigzags.
Because I guess you got peers as well to search out the actual stage 2 as well, right? Yeah.
And you're probably playing Quad Com if you're playing
Yeah.
Eternatus anyway. So like you could use them to be like a high roll mirror option, just like bop an Eternatus in 1 turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. I thought about okay, I like that one. I'm going to use that. I just half thought of it.
You made this? Oh, I made this.
You'll see now, tomorrow, Slowpoke, well, like, alright, we got ourselves the Turners VMAX of another spicy tech, baby. Got ourselves the 2 Obstagoon for the mirror.
Very cool.
Oh dear, right, let's keep it moving. Right, keep it moving. Salamance. Now, such a versatile card. Plenty of myriad of ways to play. You got Porygon Z potentially, you got Welder, I'm sure there's other ways as well. Sean, I actually saw you were saying how it might be in its best form, like as a supplement in other archetypes, maybe like a cheeky 1-1 or a 2-2. What archetypes do you feel as if it could fit into in that capacity and where it has the most value?
Oh man, I'm trying to remember what. I mean, I think it probably makes the most sense if you put it into an archetype that uses the same supporter acceleration, right? So like Welder or Rose engine. I know that I was playing around with that Rose Silvally GX combo that you played around with Gardevoir VMAX. The reason being is I actually don't know if Salamance VMAX needs to be the main thing in a deck, right? Yeah, it has awesome spread potential. It also can do 240, but there's no reason why you can't combo that with, like, I don't know, a Charizard VMAX, right? I don't know why you would need that, but I just, to me, like a 3-3 or a 4-4 or a 4-3 count of Salamance VMAX, just, I don't know. It's colorless energy. Why not take advantage of the fact that you don't need to do the same thing? So like you could even play this if, people were talking about if Centiskorch is really good. Do you play like some sort of a box with like Welder box and Rose box with this, and you put in a Milotic V or 2. You put in anything that can only require either colorless or 1 specific type of energy, and then a couple of colorless. To me, that I think is a really interesting thing to play around with, and that's the benefit of it being colorless. So that sort of, I don't know the exact combo partner with this yet, but I think if you find the right one, the ability to spread as well as hitting really hard and maybe even teching for weakness, could make it a fun deck to build.
I like that. Joe, what was your initial turn-ins for Salamance VMAX, and have they changed since it's been out for a little bit more and have more time to think? What do you feel is the best way to play it would be?
Yeah, I've tried a few different. Well, I mean, I've crafted a few different options. My first hesitation is Welder because, again, like I said with the Cinderace and the Snorlax, I feel like they just didn't really work how I wanted them to work. And if I was playing Welder VMAX, like, why wouldn't it be Centiskorch? So I actually think the Porygon Z is the one that I've put the most time into. Okay. There's some big, powerful turns available for you with the Porygon Z, because you can recycle energy, Hyper Potion off a bunch of damage. Like you could undo an Eternatus VMAX turn just by spamming Hyper Pots and recycle energies, which sounds pretty strong. And also, if you can stack those powerful colorless energies, you're getting into real big boy damage. So that sounds really cool. And it's one of those nice options where if you whiff the Candy Porygon Z, you're still setting up that damage with the 40/40s. Either like you're setting up a VMAX to put yourself in range with those powerful colorless energies later on, Even if you just hit that powerful colorless initially, where it's like a 60 to the active, 40 to the bench, that could be really good. Or you're setting up other prizes down the line, like some single prize Pokemon, like putting a Jirachi in range of maybe the regular Salamence V's spread. So I think the Porygon option seems the coolest to me. Also because you just get to take advantage of like capture energy, which is like super broken, but we haven't seen it see play at all until now. You get to play weak guard energy and actually make sense, so you're protected against anything lightning if they're still around.
Yeah.
So I actually am most a fan of the Porygon Z, because that way you're actually a diverse and different deck to playing Welder when you're just like worse than a Centiskorch and you're just trying to play Salamence because it's fun. It's like now you're actually leaning into Salamance's strengths, which is benefiting from powerful colorless and being able to play the best heal in the game through an item and recycle energy, giving you no drawback. So it's like those feel like the best things to lean into, in my opinion.
Okay, I like that. But Joe, everyone, it's no secret that Joe Bernard does not like his stage 2. Do you feel as if Salamance VMAX is worthy enough of a like let's talk League Cup scenario? Do you really think as if this Porygon Z Salamance VMAX is like worthy to take to a cup? Is that what you're saying?
I think the last stage 2 I played in a cup was Porygon Z. I played Whimsicott Z in one of the last cups I played in before Worlds, at least.
How did that go out of interest?
That's going back a long way, but yeah. That's the last stage 2 I played.
How did that go? How did that go? Just out of interest.
I think I lost winning in.
Oh, I got to win in. Okay, that's not too bad.
But I hilariously won a 60-card mirror by just attaching an ability charm to my Whimsicott and announcing pass, which was fun.
Oh, wow. That's what I do where like, your opponent plays it and you're just like, oh, wait a minute, that's...
Yeah.
Whoops.
I literally just like, I was like, okay, I'm playing 2 Tantalizers and 4 Cynthias. What about you? So yeah, Porygon Z is like the only stage 2 that's baited me in the last like 2 years. So I'm excited to actually give it a rumble, because I think Salamence is like pretty solid and has some nice wiggle room plays available to it as well, with that V doing a nice flying flip-esque attack as well. So I'm really excited to get into it more with Salamence.
That's fair. Okay, that's something I actually need to look into more, the Porygon Z version for sure. Let's keep it moving.